Throughout your life, you've been told you should exercise because it's good for you. And while that's true, it doesn't really motivate you to actually get out and do it. Day after day, you sit there making plans about how you'll get in shape. You meticulously go over your diet and how you'll cut out the junk. You've got your water bottle with times printed on the side that tell you how much water you need to drink and by when. The truth is, everyone knows exercise is good for you physically, but very few actually know that it's highly transformative for the brain, enhancing everything from your mood and focus to learning and memory. That's what this book explains. This is Spark, the Revolutionary New Science of Exercise and the Brain by Dr. John Ratey. This book covers how exercise affects all of these areas of life: learning and performance, stress, anxiety, depression, ADHD, addiction, hormones, and aging. And while that's a pretty dang good list, my 4 biggest takeaways came from these areas: learning and performance, stress, aging, and what to actually do about it and how to get started. So let's jump right into it with learning and performance. So in the learning chapter of this book, it explains how exercise affects learning on 3 different levels. Number 1, it optimizes your mindset to improve alertness, attention, and motivation. Number 2, it prepares and encourages nerve cells to bind to one another, basically allowing you to take in more information. And number 3, it spurs the development of new nerve cells in the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain that helps with learning, memory, and spatial navigation. So basically, there's a direct biological link between movement, exercise, and cognitive function, or how your brain works. So if you want your brain to work really well, then you better be exercising. A notable experiment in 2007 shows that cognitive flexibility improves after just one 35-minute treadmill session at either 60% or 70% of maximum heart rate. The 40 adults in the study, age 50 to 64, were asked to rattle off alternative uses for common objects, like a newspaper. It's meant for reading, but it can be used to wrap fish, line a birdcage, pack dishes, and so forth. Half of them watched a movie and the other half exercised, and they were tested before the session, immediately after, and again 20 minutes later. The movie watchers showed no change, but the runners improved their processing speed and cognitive flexibility just after one workout. Cognitive flexibility is an important executive function that reflects our ability to shift thinking and to produce a steady flow of creative thoughts and answers as opposed to a regurgitation of the usual responses. The trait correlates with high performance levels in intellectually demanding jobs. So if you have an important afternoon brainstorming session scheduled, going for a short, intense run during lunchtime is a smart idea. So the idea is that if you want to perform at your best, then you need to be exercising, and that's the way to unlock your best self. All of this is really interesting because I've actually been doing this for years without actually knowing what I've been doing. Every day at lunch, I will go to the gym, or I'll go play ultimate frisbee or basketball for about an hour or an hour and a half. And when I come back from lunch, I find that my motivation is way up to get things done. I don't have any type of energetic slump or lack of energy in the afternoon. I am the most productive and creative at that time as well. So it's really clear to me that right after a good intense workout, I am the most creative, I am the most productive, and I'm the most motivated. So that's just more evidence and more reason for me to exercise more often so that I can have better results throughout the day. As for how much aerobic exercise you need to stay sharp, one small but scientifically sound study from Japan found that jogging 30 minutes just 2 or 3 times a week for 12 weeks improved executive function. Now, I understand that not everybody has the ability to go to the gym in the middle of the day and work out for an hour or an hour and a half, and that's okay. You can still get a lot of benefit from just walking 20 or 30 minutes. This will get your mind moving, it'll get the blood flowing, and you will be more creative, and you will have a little more energy and motivation to work as well. So what I do throughout the day, on top of my hour and a half long training session in the middle of the day, I will walk 15 to 20 minutes in the morning and the afternoon, and that keeps me active, alert, and motivated throughout the day. When I started to implement this throughout the day, going for a walk in the morning and the afternoon, training in the middle of the day, it became somewhat of a magic bullet for me. I realized that if I was ever having some type of creative block, or if I was unmotivated or not being very productive, if I went for a walk, then I always came back and was able to push through what I was doing and to have good ideas and to keep going. So it's almost like this hack that always works, at least for me, and the more I implement it, the better it gets. So that is more than enough reason for me to keep doing what I'm doing. The effects of exercise and stress. So if you haven't noticed, everybody is stressed all of the time, and there's a variety of reasons for that. It's because, at least here in the US, we work constantly, and we are also inundated with information. We get information anywhere we go, everywhere online, social media, news, and the problem is we end up comparing ourselves to other people, at least if you're on social media a lot, or you're told to do so many things and you start to wonder, okay, now you got to do this, now I got to fix this. Or you're consuming so much news about topics and events that you have absolutely no control over, and it stresses you out or makes you mad. So it's no wonder that when we come home from work, we jump straight into the couch and start distracting ourselves with our phone or Netflix or any type of streaming. Essentially, we just want to numb the pain. You might be thinking that this is just any other day of the week. This is just normal. It's normal to get on social media, be on there 3 or 4 hours a day. It's normal to follow the news. It's important to know what's going on. And that's okay if you really believe that. But what it's doing is it's stressing you out, and more stress generally is a bad thing. There are times when stress in doses can be good for you. Stress on your muscles, stress on your bones causes them to grow stronger and thicker. And that is what you want. However, chronic stress can lead to a lot of issues. If mild stress becomes chronic, the unrelenting cascade of cortisol triggers genetic actions that begin to sever synaptic connections and cause dendrites to atrophy and cells to die. Eventually, the hippocampus can end up physically shriveled like a raisin. So like I said, stress is a normal part of life, and there is nothing wrong with it in small doses, assuming that you can recover. Exercise is a great example. Stress, even in your job, is good because it causes you to perform better, it causes you to meet deadlines, it causes you to stretch and grow. However, that chronic stress, that crippling stress that you're under is not good, and it can actually physically shrivel parts of your brain, which, I don't know about you, but that to me sounds pretty horrendous, and I want to avoid that at all costs. Luckily, it's not all doom and gloom, and there is something you can actually do about it, and that is exercise. At every level, from the microcellular to the physiological, exercise not only wards off the ill effects of chronic stress, it can also reverse them, which, when I first read this, it absolutely blew my mind. It blew my mind first that stress, if untreated and chronic, can actually shrivel up parts of your brain, but it's even crazier to me that exercise can actually reverse those ill effects of stress. And if your brain was actually shriveled, it can go back to normal through exercise. Just absolutely crazy, and I can't think of a better reason to exercise than this right here. It will actually reverse the ill effects of stress and so many other things that's talked about in this book. So this is literally a magic bullet for any type of stress, is exercise. Being able to deal with stress is something that you just have to learn if you're going to live in the modern era. But when you know that exercise can help you deal with more and it can reverse the effects of stress, then that's where it becomes this magic bullet that you can use to be able to do more and achieve more in your daily life. The effects of exercise and aging. Like it or not, we are getting older every second of every day. And to a lot of people, that is scary, and they do not like the idea of getting older. And I think that's largely because when we look at older people, we see people who can't move very well. We see them losing their minds in some cases. We see obesity. We see chronic health conditions. We see a lot of prescription drugs to help combat those conditions. The average 75-year-old has at least 3 chronic conditions and is likely taking between 3 and 5 prescriptions a day. Most older people have high blood pressure, they have diabetes, they're overweight, some even have dementia and Alzheimer's. So no wonder nobody wants to get older, because all we see are health problems, physical problems, mental problems, and we relate those to getting older. Now, depending on your habits, you can avoid most, if not all, of these things by exercising consistently throughout your young life so that when you're older, you don't have a lot of these issues. Now, this is something that Dr. Rady outlines in the book. It's called the Life List, and it outlines everything exercise does to keep you going. It strengthens the cardiovascular system. It regulates glucose in the blood, helping us avoid Alzheimer's disease. It reduces obesity. It elevates your stress threshold. It lifts your mood. It boosts the immune system. It fortifies your bones. It boosts motivation. It fosters neuroplasticity, or in other words, helps you build a strong brain, which affects every single part of your life. The Regimen. So that leads us to re-emphasize the main point of the book, which is that exercise is the single most powerful tool you have to optimize your brain function. The better your fitness level, the better your brain works. So that brings us to the most practical part of the book to make our brain and body the most active and healthy that it can possibly be. And as Dr. Rady puts it, the best advice is to get fit, then continue challenging yourself. And that is the simplest and most unhelpful advice that I actually have ever read. Getting fit is not just something someone does. It's not just, let me just get fit. Let me get fit real quick. That doesn't happen. There's a lot more that needs to happen in order for somebody to get fit. But luckily, he does explain a little more and gives a little more concrete information later on. The best, however, based on everything I've read and seen, would be to do some form of aerobic activity 6 days a week for 45 minutes to an hour. 4 of those days should be on the longer side at moderate intensity and 2 on the shorter side at high intensity. And while there's conflicting evidence about whether high intensity activity, which can force your body into anaerobic metabolism, impacts thinking and mood, it clearly releases some of the most important growth factors from the body that builds up the brain. So, on the shorter, high-intensity days, include some form of strength or resistance training. These days should not be back-to-back. Your body and brain need recovery time to grow after high-intensity days. In total, I'm talking about committing 6 hours a week to your brain. That works out to 5% of your waking hours. Now, if that sounds like a lot to you, it actually kind of is. 6 to 7 hours of aerobic exercise a week is quite a bit of time that you need to dedicate to that. But that's not where you should start. If you're just starting out, the best thing to do is go for a daily walk, 20 to 30 minutes, and just get consistent doing that. And then over time, you can increase the intensity and you can increase the duration of that as well. Remember, a little is good, but more is better. Something is absolutely better than nothing. So don't get discouraged thinking you need to do an hour every single day at 80% of your maximum heart rate to get these results. That's something you can work up to. And if you never get there, we just need to live with it. We just use the time that we have and we do what we're capable of right now. So if you liked this video and got to this point, you will absolutely love reading this book. So go pick it up and check it out for yourself. And thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.